And I'm going to tell you a funny story. So like when I was getting some pieces in my old factory in India, I asked them, are you eco-friendly? And they were like, yeah, we have a garden in our factory. And I was like, guys, you've got the whole wrong idea here.
Welcome to Seller Radio, rebrand to Seller Radio, episode number 14 with Kush from Feather Pendants. Welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for coming on the show. We're just going to ask you a few questions about your business. Our first question for the audience that didn't see the first episode with you is, Can you give us a brief background on Feather Pendants?
So Feather Pendants, it's UK based. It's a jewelry brand. Essentially all we do, put it on the tin, is we sell cool jewelry for cool people.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
And for the audience, a bit of visual reference there. What exact jewelry are you selling?
So essentially it's like a range of jewelry from like Cuban chains to more elevated sterling silver pieces. I don't want to use too much like stones and ice on my pieces. I want to use this in subtle ways. So like one of the pieces we have, see if the camera picks it up. It's like a buckle Cuban. So like everyone's got a Cuban chain. How can we take it to another level? Put a buckle on it. Boom. That's how we do it, basically.
Nice.
I want to take like timeless styles, add like a really good trendy twist to it.
Yeah. I mean, you started the business when you were 16, right?
Yeah.
How did you start it and why did you start it?
So, funny story here. So basically, I had work experience at my uncle's shop on Edgware Road, and like he forgot to pay me. And I can't really ask after it was done, like pay me. So I was like, okay, this is GCSE summer. I'm 16. I need some money to get through the summer because I have no freedom right now. And then like I was having I had a very basic interest in fashion. So I was on a few Facebook groups, one of them called The Basement. And so people were selling all sorts of stuff. And I was like, okay, fine. Something's going on here. So I found these feathers on eBay and I just resold them. They cost me £5. So I bought £5 worth of feathers. I think I got 10 of them for £5. And I resold them for £5 a pop. And then I just did that again and it seemed to work. So from there, that's how the brand like initially spawned. And then from there, like my ethos is always like elevate. So from there, we just level up until it becomes the brand you see today.
Yeah. And I remember when you started, you were selling, I mean, kind of cheaper pendants, right? I guess you were trying to do kind of more sales, but for cheaper prices. Is that right?
Yeah. Like I always wanted FP to grow into a premium brand, but like we started with a $5, so we had to start somewhere.
Yeah. And
I noticed there was a massive gap for like affordable men's street style jewelry, and affordable, I mean between the £5 and £20 mark.
Yeah.
So you're looking at £5 a pendant, maybe £15 a ring, like just very cheap. And that gap in the market, I just took advantage of and just completely flooded with feather pendants. Like it was everywhere. And then from there, I used that as a base to then evolve the brand.
So what do you really enjoy? What gets you out of bed with selling jewelry?
Selling jewelry, it's just, I guess it's the little things. Because obviously with clothing, like you've got like a big piece to look at, but with jewelry, it's so small. So it's making sure like all the little details are intact. Like I ship all my orders myself. It's making sure like you got the little envelope, you got to put the note in the envelope, you handwrite it, you do all the little things, because even on the jewelry itself, you've got little details, like a little engraving, you got a little FP like written on the piece. Some people want custom engravings, which we do also. So like, it's just making sure you take care of all the little things.
Would you call yourself a bit of a perfectionist?
To a point. There are times when I'm like, nah, I quite like stuff like imperfect because it adds character. But when it comes to certain aspects of the business, it has to be done right.
And I guess another interesting point is that transition between, the £5 to £20 range, going up to now where you're selling stuff at, over £100. How did you transition to that? Because it's quite difficult to do that. So different customer base.
Yeah, so that transition, it kind of happened as I grew up myself, and my personal choices, like personal interest, changed from buying £5 to £20 clothing, like going up, like my personal fashion interest changed. So I sort of used myself as the market, and as I changed, my brand changed, and I settled at a point where I was comfortable at, not too high end, not too cheap, like a point where it's a sweet middle ground.
Yeah.
And it was a tough change, and it still is a tough change to like make. But at the end of the day, you've got to understand that like we're a premium brand selling premium products. Like,
and in the early days, how did you market to your customers, and has that kind of changed now that you're targeting people who are willing to pay more for jewelry?
Yeah, 100%. Back in the day, Feather Pendants was everywhere. Like I just make every influencer left, right, center was wearing Feather Pendants. But over time, I realized that it's not about having everyone wear it. It's about the right people. Like you want the right icons to be wearing your stuff. And especially if you're going to be selling cool jewelry, they need to be cool. You can't give it to like any man, left, right, and center. And there's a lot of new influencers coming out there with their own content, which is cool, but it doesn't fit the brand. So there's no benefit for us giving them products.
Yeah. Interesting. And in terms of finding these kind of new influencers, obviously you don't want to give away too many secrets, but how do you go about doing that?
So like, essentially I have a really good PR, and he basically has all the good connects when it comes to like influencers and people, you know, and pretty much go through him most of the time. But often we get people just messaging us, and if I look at your page and your message seems authentic, I look at your page, and if I like it, I'm like, yeah, cool, let's do something. And I often sometimes find a page, I reach out as well with an authentic message. Like I don't like generic messages, like a lot of people just send like the same thing and it's just copy pasted to everyone. I don't like that. Be specific. Like what do you like about our jewelry which brought you to our page?
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of small businesses that would be watching this podcast when it comes out. For those people wanting to create a cool brand as well, what would you suggest?
In what sense?
Like, how do they stay true to what their brand is, but also try and create something with a bit of buzz around it and sort of becomes like...
So I'd say never lower yourself for other people. So essentially like everyone will try beg stuff from you. Never like give in, like follow your own principle, and that's like what your brand should speak as well.
So what are some of the principles of Feather Pendants?
So Feather Pendants is just high caliber, like for cool creatives doing cool things. And like if someone's like begging for pieces to like wear for their show and it doesn't fit your vibe or what you're doing, you just got to learn to say no.
Yeah, makes sense. In terms of like the actual process from, you know, having an idea for a piece and then actually kind of selling it to a customer, how does that look?
So ideas come from everywhere. So whatever you do, there could be ideas everywhere, essentially. So I'll take you through a real life example.
Yeah.
You probably remember when you were a kid, you had those little aliens that came in eggs. They were like in slime eggs.
Yeah.
So like I was at my friend's house, we were chilling, and he just whips out this alien out of nowhere. And we're like, oh my God, we had these when we were kids. And then another friend of mine just throws it onto the roof and it just gets stuck, and it's still there till this day. And I was like, like, that's cool. I've got to do something about this. And then over time, you just let it sit in your mind. And then slowly, you're like, okay, cool, aliens, this. And all of a sudden, you've designed a whole collection called Space, based around like different elements of space. And you sort of fit that product into that collection. Now we've actually made the alien, and not just the alien, we made an egg that it goes into. So it's like ideas are everywhere, and you've just got to find a way to fit them into your brand in the right way. Because there's no point chucking it in and it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And in terms of like actually, you know, the kind of creative process, how does that work all the way up to kind of like actually producing it and then like selling it?
Okay, cool. So creative process wise, so you start off with a sketch.
Yeah.
Everything starts off pen and paper. Like I don't like doing digital first, pen and paper always. And then these days there's apps that can just scan it into the computer. So you take a picture, make that digital, and then you can like add colors on the computer, make it all textured. From there, I have a guy who does CAD. He's very good at CAD. So I take it to him. He'll make a 3D design of the product, and that will allow people to see it from all angles. People allow yourself to see it from all angles. Make sure like there's no imperfections in the 3D design. From there, with jewelry, you need to get it cast. So then you decide, do I want it in brass? Do I want it in solid silver? For that, those are the options for me. Obviously, you can do solid gold if you want to as well. But for me, brass or silver, get it cast, then I get the end result. That's one sample. Now I look at that sample and I'm like, what's wrong with it? And I nail out every imperfection I can, because if you sample too much, it's going to cost you too much. You can probably only afford one stage of sampling. So from there, I'm like, this is what's wrong with it. Okay, I want to make 10 units with these changes. Order the 10, and there we go. We have that's the final product essentially.
Interesting.
I was going to ask, when you're in that sampling phase, are you doing that all by yourself, or do you use other people to sort of bounce your ideas off them?
So I like to say, like, I like to use a wide range of people, to be honest. I always run everything by my right hand man, my PR. So I run everything through him, but I also take it to friends, even show my dad. Like, it's good to get like all sorts of opinions, basically.
Yeah, because I know when we did like the Mule app and the Mule website and the logos and the illustrations, we used 99 designs to send the designs around to everyone. Okay, and then you get a voting system going basically on the different logos.
Yeah,
and then that's actually like people say obvious stuff, which we probably missed out because we're so like engrossed in the process. Yeah,
when you're in the process, you can't actually see it from like an outsider's perspective. We're actually making a new logo as we speak, so that'll be good to use.
Yeah, mate, it's a good one.
Yeah, and in terms of like your weekends,
yeah,
are you always thinking about jewelry or?
No, actually, it's changed. So like back in the day, yeah. Then I realized like it just burns me out if I do too much. Jewelry is everywhere, and you got to realize like ideas come from everything, so it's always there. But it's never like on the weekends these days. Like I try to spend time with my family.
Yeah.
Recently, I've been watching all the Avengers with my dad, so all the Marvel movies, just going through those. I don't know. I like to work a bit in the day, but like weekends I do take easy, and then come Monday, boom, 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 back at it.
It's always in the back of your mind, though, isn't it? Like,
it's always there, though. Like,
and I think as well, you need a bit of time for it to simmer when you're not like consciously thinking about it, and your brain like is kind of doing it in the background.
Yeah, exactly. And what's good is like no one's telling me I can go in, no one's telling me I can't go in. So on the weekends, let's say like I do want to go in and do loads of work, I will, and like I do that often. On Saturdays I'm there until like 7-8 p.m. But other Saturdays I'm chilling at home. But either way, I've got the choice.
Yeah, interesting. And I mean, I'm guessing you do research. Like, do you go to like Selfridges, for example? Like,
yeah, that's something I actually do. Like every other weekend, I go on a little like. It's weird. It's my lonely stroll. So I'll go on a walk to all the department stores, just inspect, just be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What new pieces have they got? Men's and female jewelry. So I'll have a look, see what they're saying, take little pictures on the sly. Then like every 2 weeks I go and do that. So I go between Selfridges, then I go like Harvey Nichols.
Yeah.
Then I go to just a few stores that are just here and there.
And what are you looking for when you go to these stores? Are you just looking?
I'm looking at their displays.
Yeah.
Recently, I look at all sorts of different things. So right now I want to work on my own shop displays in my office. So like recently I've been looking at how they display their products and how often they change it. But I do also look at the design, there's types of jewelry there. I look at the little detail, the types of brands they're getting in, types of brands that are surrounding those brands, all sorts.
And what big jewelry shops are you looking at the moment with inspiration?
So I like to take inspiration from the top girls because they do it the best. So like I'm looking at Cartier, Tiffany, like they're doing it the best, but I need to take what they do and like reapply those concepts to my audience essentially, because I can't copy that directly because they're a whole different caliber of jewelry.
Are there any up and coming jewelry online shops that you've got a lot of respect for? Apart from your own one.
Apart from my own one. I'd say like there's a lot of good brands out there, to be honest, but there's a lot of bad ones too. So it's like you gotta, I don't know really. Yeah. I mainly look at the top and then apply that to me.
Someone like, I mean, Virgil Abloh doesn't do jewelry, does he? But he
does.
He did.
R.I.P. Off-White, but like, yeah. So he had like a separate Instagram for all of his jewelry, and I would study that vigorously. But that's something I classify like up there in terms of that's like very, very premium kind of jewelry too.
Yeah,
because he took those elements into Louis Vuitton as well, and they're the big fashion houses that I'm looking at a lot: Louis Vuitton, Gucci. Mostly Louis Vuitton.
And what are you looking for when you look at these big houses?
I look at the trends they're bringing in. So essentially, like one time I designed like a resin chain. It was green. It had like marble effect on it. And then I realized Louis Vuitton used this green marble for their whole fashion show. I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, like I did that. Didn't even look at that. And now it's there. So that means I can definitely sell it. Because like I'm on trend. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to see if I'm on trend. And when Virgil brought out all these resin pieces of jewelry and I was doing it at the same time, I was like, yeah, I'm on trend. Like, I'm not even copying, I'm on trend. So that's when I know, like, I'm on the right path because I look to them for guidance, essentially.
Makes sense. What are some of the kind of top trends you see in jewelry in the next 12 months?
So I think one of the biggest trends is gradients.
Yeah.
And not just gradients in terms of color. You've got gradients in terms of size. So the chain could start off small, get bigger, and go back smaller. And then you've also got color gradients, any kind of transition. People like to see change. And if you can envision that on a piece, that's
Didn't one of the big car companies also recently, they released a car, I think it was BMW.
was it
Correct. I might be wrong here.
Release the chain.
No, not a chain, but a car that has different gradients.
Yeah.
How you look at it.
Changes on the outside. Yeah.
People are obsessed with change, and like when things change, they love it. So
are chains in the next 12 months going to get bigger or going to get smaller? Because
I think it depends on the age
my
group.
one's very small.
Yeah, it depends on the age group, I'd say and it depends on the type of person. But even if you have a small chain or a big chain, you can include like a gradient on that chain essentially, and I think that's going to be massive.
What do you think about, this is a completely different topic,
Yeah.
but around NFTs and jewelry?
Okay, so I think it's sick. I've seen jewelers literally make Apple Watches as chain. So they'll make the face of the Apple Watch their chain.
Yeah.
They can display their NFT.
That's
But
quite
I also
cool.
think we're not ready. Like I want to work on some NFT stuff, but I'm not ready to put it out there until like I fully understand the benefit it will give my consumers.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's gonna need to give them a benefit.
I mean, I don't know that much about it, but one of the clear benefits to me for an artist is that you can, when the piece is sold again, then you still collect some reward from that.
Yeah,
From that
that's one. Yeah, that's one good benefit from them. But again, me as well. I don't know enough to explore that market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about the. I mean, with fast fashion, sustainability is obviously a big problem. Is that the same in jewelry?
Yeah, it has been. And I'm going to tell you a funny story. So like when I was getting some pieces in my old factory in India, I asked them, are you eco-friendly? And they were like, yeah, we have a garden in our factory. And I was like, guys, you've got the whole wrong idea. They were like, and then I was like, are you sustainable? And they said, yes, we take pictures in the garden. And I was like, where's this going, guys? Like, come on. But after a few like interrogating questions, I realized they are sustainable because they do melt the silver down and reuse it all the time. They just didn't know what sustainability meant, so they didn't say that at the beginning.
And are they sourcing the metals from sustainable locations? Is that a thing as well?
So that is a thing, but that's much further up. So essentially, this factory, what they do is they'll get metal, melt it down, make new metal. Get metal, make it down, make new metal. I am shifting a lot of my production to the UK because I have a lot more control over it. And that means I can just directly put eco-friendly sources in. I think being sustainable is key. It's like a big thing.
Yeah.
And one of the best ways to be sustainable is to make things locally instead of taking everything from abroad. So I have been trying to like make a lot of chains in the UK, use Hatton Gardens to my advantage.
And are they doing the same thing? They're taking either scrap metal or recycled metal and melting it down?
You can buy like silver that has like a badge on it for like, eco-friendly.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, most silver has been melted down from previous silver, basically.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, obviously we are a shipping platform. Could you maybe talk a little bit about shipping and like how that was a problem and whether or not Mule helped you with that? Because I know you are a Mule user.
So basically, I'll start off with all the problems I've had with shipping. So raw mail, big issues. I was like losing packages left, right, center, and things were also very delayed. Also, it was just a bit of a struggle because I had to like go post office all the time. It just became a bit long. And then switched over to Mule. Very handy having someone come pick it up every day. The guy's really friendly. He's got to know us. He knows I'm always a little bit late sometimes. So he'll like make sure he comes after 12. Like, yeah, very sound guy.
Yeah.
And it's been very good because you can just group everything in one. You don't have loads of packages flying around because it's all in one bag.
Yeah.
And yeah.
You talked about bringing the production in-house or in the UK because you can have more control over it. You also obviously have your shipping processes in-house.
Yeah, in-house.
A lot of small businesses use fulfillment centers to try and save costs. Obviously, we don't provide a service for those businesses. What do you see the benefit of keeping your order fulfillment and shipping in-house?
So the benefit is you have full control over what goes in the order. And I like to write notes. I like to make everything a bit personal. Also, jewelry is very small. So like I can just store it in a corner of the room and it takes up a fraction of the space it would if it was clothing or something bigger. that's why I like doing it in-house. A, it's easier. B, it's more efficient. C, like I have complete control over things. If someone needs something next day, I can make sure it's there next day. If they need it shipped in an Uber to their house, I can make sure it's done in an Uber to their house.
So you're writing personal notes for customers sometimes?
Sometimes.
That's quite nice.
If they're special customers and they get a note.
Very nice.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things that we found is, like, if you go on, 90% of Shopify sites, you go to their checkout page and you see a shipping option, and it'll just say, raw mail, for example. There'll be one shipping option. But obviously, like, not every customer wants to wait, 5 days for a parcel. They want it next day, for example. And at the moment, the way they're probably doing it with you is they're kind of messaging you saying, like, can I get it next day? Or,
well, I have two options.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But for like international parcels.
Again, I have two options.
Oh, you've already got the
express.
Express.
Mule's got the Express.
Oh, you put both of them already?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, cool. So what I was about to say was one of the cool things we're going to be doing in the next kind of 6 months with like the product is allowing you to turn on and off courier services from our platform on your checkout page. And so we'll be basically allow you to show your customers any of the courier options that we have, and they'll be able to determine which service they want.
That would be really useful, because right now I've manually put in like rough prices, but obviously like if you're shipping an order to the middle of nowhere, I've just got like a rough one for it.
Yeah, it's just banded prices, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we're trying to do is trying to get small businesses to get the whole courier comparison idea, not just from the seller side, but on the consumer facing side and on their checkout page. So that'll be coming in the next few weeks, hopefully.
That would be really useful, really good.
But going back to Feather Pendants, where do you see the business being in 5 years? Like, what are there any big changes on the horizon, or are you gonna?
Yeah, 100%. Right now, I'm going through a significantly medium-sized rebrand, I'll say. Because essentially what I've realized is like what makes Feather Pendant special. It's originally, when I first ever started, it was the feather pendant. And I've decided, you know what, I need to really capitalize and take things back full circle and release a lot of feather pendants, because A, this will help me with my SEO, and B, like, it's just a sick item that really symbolizes my company and me. So I'm coming back with a lot of feathers, and it's going to be a magical touch. Like I mentioned earlier, I was making a logo. It's going to be a feather. Like every Cuban chain will have a little feather attached to it, and it will be the little lucky charm that makes feather pendants.
Yeah.
And in 5 years' time, like, I want that feather to really represent us. So if someone wants to do a collaboration with us, what do? We make a special feather in your style.
Interesting. What are your thoughts on collaborations? Do you do a lot of them?
I do a lot of silent collabs that I don't talk about too much. I also do a lot of like brand collabs. Silent collab wise, I make jewelry for a lot of brands. So I've done like quite a few of like London and the UK's cool brands, basically.
So just talk me through what a silent collab is.
A silent collab means I make the jewelry. I don't have to announce it on my brand page, but I still made the jewelry. There's still that association link.
And you're just getting paid basically for the manufacture of it.
Yeah, essentially. And I've got another brand called FP Customs, in which case I can post it there because it will strengthen that brand up.
Do you reckon that's something a small business could take advantage of that they're probably not aware of?
100%. Like if you're making something, you can definitely move up the supply chain and make it for someone else.
Because there's also a way of like, increasing the amount of volume of stuff you're making, which then like the economies of scale drives down other costs as well, right?
Yeah,
also
exactly.
You're practicing making your craft, which is always a good thing
for other people. Also, like as these other brands grow, you'll grow, because they'll be putting like more. They'll be placing bigger and bigger orders for more and more rings, and like adding jewelry to your product line is an excellent way to like increase your own customer loyalty. I've even approached restaurants. Like the other day, I went to Flatiron, and they gave me a little token after, like, it was in the shape of a knife. And I emailed them today. I was like, hey, I got this token. Let's make some jewelry out of it. Let's see what they say. Hopefully they're watching.
I'm sure they will be. What's your thoughts on wholesale then? Do you get into that?
Wholesale's key, and that's one of the other goals for the next 5 years. Essentially, I need to really focus on getting into big stores, because that's where like those bulk orders will allow me to have like stable funds to then push my shoots, push my content,
experiments as well.
Take things exactly, to another level. And people love when you experiment. Not everyone will buy the experiments, but they love to see that you're doing it. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Like men are quite simple shoppers, but they like it when you're making cool things.
How'd you get into these places? 'Cause I remember you were in Selfridges.
I was a couple years ago. So
Yeah.
that's another funny story. So like they emailed me and I thought it was fake. So I didn't reply. And then they DM'd me, not the actual account, a buyer at Selfridges DM'd me.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh my God, this is real. And I was only like 17 dealing with Selfridges. And I was like, wow. And then like they ended up placing an order for our resin pieces and it went quite well. It went pretty good. They liked them. It was very unique to anything else they were selling. But now my goal is to really push my metalwork into Selfridges because I've taken a step back from making the resin and really put focus into metalwork. Also, me being in Selfridges at that time, that early on, allowed me to understand that my brand needs to level up. And it gave me the sort of inspiration to level up to the current status of the brand.
I guess it like raised the ceiling of where you thought it could have been.
Exactly. Yeah. I thought I was doing everything and I was like, I'm doing nothing.
Yeah.
And then I had to just get bigger and better.
Yeah. I mean, the experimentation piece of it, especially as an artist, is super important, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, for us, like we have loads of users asking for stuff the whole time. So it's almost quite easy to come up with ideas sometimes.
They'll just give you your ideas. Yeah.
But the users with an artistic process is different, isn't it?
Yeah, experimenting is key. If you have an idea, make it. That's what I say. Like, if you have an idea, just make it. Just make it happen. Why not?
Yeah. I think last question from me, just out of interest. How many of your customers are like repeat customers versus like how many of them are kind of one-off purchases?
So we've actually increased our repeat customer rate by about 70%, which is pretty good.
That's huge.
Yeah. Because before, like, when we're selling cheaper jewelry, people would buy and then go somewhere else and buy and go somewhere else because there's so many other brands selling cheaper jewelry. But now we've upped our prices. People really buy into the brand, and you want a ring for every finger, and you want them to match, and you want them all to like be from the same jewelry brand, so they all match basically. So yeah, we've repeat customers are key.
What's been the driver of the repeat customers?
I think it's difficult to put a pinpoint on it, but I think it's the little details. Again, it's the nice box, the nice packaging, the maybe the little note, the little.
You do have nice packaging.
I was gonna say,
yeah.
Nice
I actually brought one with me today to give back to you.
Amazing.
Brilliant. Well, look, Kush, I think we come to the end, but really appreciate you jumping on for. Guess we can call it season 2.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks a lot.
Well,
Thanks very much for coming.
Thanks.